Hello, welcome to Q&A. In an effort to continue the eternal quest to keep things fresh around here, we have decided to do it a Q&A, but we brought in a familiar yet still fresh face. We've had her on the stream a while back when we had a conversation with her, David and I. So we pestered her until she agreed to come back. And so basically here she is. She came back for one of these fun little Q&As. So if you have some challenging question you feel like throwing Lana, just a quick background. If you remember, she was at Blizzard for a number of years. And now she's over at Riot, and she is pretty much one of the big sort of, at least she seems like definitely the person who's spearheading the rat animation crew on Twitch. They do streams every once in a while, letting you get inside their heads and giving you a kind of a window into their process, which is a lot of fun. If you ever catch one of those, you really should, if you have the opportunity to check it out. And yes, she's also a very, very active member at GDC. She started her own community a while back called Animation Tea Time. I think it's Tea Time Animation. She's laughing. I see her backstage because I always screw it up. Oh, she gave me the thumbs up. I didn't F it up. That's amazing. So anyway, I'm just going to shut up and bring her on because this is kind of dumb. Just talking about her. She's not even here. Hi.
You nailed it on the second try.
Okay. So
Tea Time Animation.
Tea Time Animation. At least I didn't call it Tea Party because that was what I was doing before.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's we prefer not to be.
Yeah. No, there's no affiliation to a right wing kind of sort of conspiracy group of politicians.
Yes.
No problem. Good. Yeah. Welcome back on the stream.
Thank you.
I was going to say welcome to the stream, and I realized you've been here before.
Today. Thank you for inviting me back. I'm glad that last time was, I wasn't intolerable.
Definitely not intolerable. No, it was nice to have. It was nice to have you on. It was actually very. It was enlightening, and you know, it's funny because some of the guests we have on, you know, like sometimes we just do this big deep dive on like their career path, and sometimes it's very technical, and then sometimes it just gets kind of human, you know, like it's kind of talking about things that are like just, you know, like just things that are kind of peripheral to being like an animator or being a human working in the animation industry. And I feel like that was more or less what our conversation was like. And those are the ones that I feel like everyone like can learn from. You know, it's not if otherwise it's like only animators can be like, oh, okay, cool, good technical note, I'll write that down. When in reality, like that's what you get at school. But I feel like what doesn't get taught at schools is preparing you for like the soft skills and the challenges of interpersonal relationships and like just all the stuff, the human stuff, you know? So
Yeah.
anyways, thanks for that.
I mean, I think something that people talk about a lot, but doesn't maybe it's like come to the forefront as often as people think it might is the fact that like what we spend 8 to 10 hours a day with our colleagues, like that's more time than I spend with my family.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's important.
That's it.
And
It
speaking
is
of,
like
oh, go ahead.
totally.
Sorry.
No, you go ahead.
I was just gonna say, speaking of, you know, humans in the chat, there's a couple. It looks like there's a couple rats in the chat right now. Thanks for showing up, y'all. That's nice.
I know. I mentioned rats, and I saw a bunch of people like rats, go rats. It's like it's a chant or something. They're gonna like take over the whole stream by storm. I like it. Welcome to the stream. I've enjoyed your stream many times. It only seems fair that you're here now and enjoying ours. So good stuff. Great. Awesome. So we have some questions. I mean, you know, it's a Q&A. So basically the idea is we have a bunch of questions that rolled in from social, but we also have all these amazing people in the chat here that I'm sure can throw a question or two our way. What Cuphead picture? What are you talking about? I love that Cuphead picture on the background.
This one?
Oh, there, that one. Yeah. That's awesome.
That was a gift from my friend. I found out Jake Clark, who's one of the animators on Cuphead, his father does like professional sign design or did at some point. And so he co-designed this poster with his dad. A little family effort there. Love it. Talented,
that's cool.
Talented chaps.
I'm just impressed that they picked up on that. It was like in the very corner. Like it's nice eye there. That's good.
Yeah, I'll leave that up there. I'll just be in the lower third here. So how does this usually roll? Do we just like chat and wait for people to ask questions?
Well, I mean, usually the way it works is if people have questions now, we'll pick up on those and prioritize something that's happening live in chat. But otherwise we can pull from the little backlog that we got going on to kind of get things going, which it sounds like I'm going to probably do because I see no questions yet. By the way, people in chat, if you do have a question, put a Q and then a colon if you don't mind, because at the beginning, because otherwise it's a little harder to pull out. We discovered this a little while ago through experience that it's a little easier to find the questions when we need them. So just try to not forget to put that. Otherwise we might look right past your amazing question. Okay, so let me go and dig in here. It looks like Scott even moved the one over from the other spreadsheet. So I'm going to start with the one that I think the one that I feel like is a fun one to start with, nice and light, which is Arcane, which is interesting considering your current professional affiliation. But like, I mean, is it mandatory watching for the people over at Riot? Like, I'm just, you know, it's like, have you seen it? Have you seen it?
I have definitely seen it. I've seen all of it. I've seen every episode. It is not mandatory watching. It's hard to talk about Arcane because I know. I find it hard to talk about Arcane only in that my absolute love for it makes me sound like such a shill for Riot. But it's like I don't have a lot of prior to Riot like adoration for Riot. I didn't play. I love the animation team. I thought like the work was really talented, and I loved the videos that they would constantly put out. So I feel like I have to like qualify this by saying a million things. I don't love it because I work for Riot. I love it because it's an incredible piece of film and animation, like triumph. I guess not film at all. Animation triumph, story triumph, beautiful. Like visual design, like I feel like on every front you could possibly have for Arcane, it is like a massive success. So
would it be awkward if I said I didn't really like it very much?
I mean, that's on you. Did you not like it very much?
No, I like it. It's a lot. It's very, very good. I'm wondering though, and I actually intentionally stayed away from doing a little bit of research on the making of, because I knew we were going to have you on. So I thought I'd pick your brain a little bit, because I figured you probably know, at least peripherally, some of the answers to some of these questions. So was it like, was it done by it, like, or is there a team that resides at Riot? Are they producing some of the animations, or is it completely done by a completely different group of people? I literally don't know the answer to the question. I'm embarrassed to admit that I don't know.
I don't know how much I'm allowed to say about the inner workings of it, but
interesting.
I do know that Fortiche, you could see their name, that little flamey thing that comes up in the credits. They're a powerhouse animation team that was also responsible for a lot of partnerships between Riot and their animation work. But there's also a core team of people at Riot who, it was like a big partnership.
Okay, so so I get it. So everything wasn't done in house, but there was a very strong level of involvement with the team at Riot. Obviously, that makes sense. Yeah, it feels like that, because it just feels like there's a certain amount of respect and sort of detail that's been brought into all these characterizations, that it would feel like it just feels homegrown in so many ways, and I know that Riot has over the years built up a very amazing prowess for, I mean, I remember, wasn't it years and years ago when Riot started putting out those really amazing, like teaser like trailers for League of Legends that were just mind-blowingly good. And like that was all insourced and stuff, wasn't it?
A lot of the teaser trailers specifically were done like, I mean, there's definitely like a small team of people, but I want to even attribute so much of it to one person. Jason Hendrick does, like, as far as I'm aware, like, he uses like the in-game models and stuff to do it, but I think he re-rigs them, animates everything custom for those videos. Wow. I think he does like all the lighting and stuff in engine. I'm pretty sure that he does all of it.
That's crazy.
But if it's not just him, there's like a small team of people who do it. There's actually, you can go back and look at, I think, a Lightbox talk that we did in 2020. He talks a bit about his work on what at the time was called IPC, or like intellectual property creative team.
Right.
And he digs into his work there. It's great.
That's very cool. I'll have to go back and check that out. Yeah, I mean, and it's funny because as I'm watching it, I'm just like, the one thing that stands out for like I feel so drawn to. Like there's something about the animation specifically about this show that is just so tactile. Like everything feels so heavy. Like heavy. There's like a heaviness to everything that I'm really digging, because I feel like that's often something that the characters lack in a lot of these shows, especially ones that are very stylized. They tend to lack that sort of heaviness, and these characters just feel like they feel real. I feel like I could pull them off the screen and they'd be like lead. They're so heavy.
I think something about the realistic sense of, there's like a slightly elevated sense of physics, but realistic in the weight of everything.
Yeah,
partnered with this like the beautiful exaggerated painterly style, like something about like those elements selected merging together.
Exactly. They just play off one another really nicely. And I'll admit that I'm not all the way through it. I've only watched the first 3 episodes just because I had to go to bed at some point. But I do plan on watching all of it. But all I know is that it definitely is extremely, extremely satisfying. And I'm just hoping that we're not being teased with only one season. If there's not more, I will go on a rampage. You've been warned.
I'll do
right. You've been
I'll watch my
go
back.
on a rampage. Yeah. I'm just saying, don't get me too excited. Don't pull a Firefly on me. Don't do that.
Yeah.
It makes me break my heart.
Yeah. I would never do that to you.
No, thank you. Okay. So we have some questions that are actually in chat, so we can actually go ahead and fire off some of those for funsies. What about this one? Pork chop. I think you're just almost kind of answered this, but did you play a lot of any Riot games before working there?
I did not. I actually had I played it, but not consistently. I played League of Legends very, very early on in university because a whole bunch of my friends were playing it. And for better or for worse, I was like, I played, I don't know, it must have been just the tutorial at the time. I barely remember it so long ago. And I said, okay, I've sort of gone through this. Does anybody who's playing like want to help me get more into this game? And all my friends at the time were like, don't bother. Do not start playing this game. And I'm like, you guys play it literally every night. Like, why? And they were like, don't do it. Don't. It'll destroy you. And I was like, okay,
that's
but
so
I really
funny.
would like to. But eventually I was like, I have schoolwork to do anyway. I didn't even want to play. I did want to play, but I didn't. And then later down the line, I would pick it up every once in a while and play a game or two. And then certainly like in the lead up to my interview, I played a bunch of games, but
It's so
not
funny.
a ton beforehand.
It sounded a lot like it sounded like someone going up to a smoker and asking if they could just try a smoke for the first time.
Yeah.
Like, I can't live with myself. I love doing this, but I know that it ruins me. So I wouldn't be able to live with myself knowing that I was the one that got you smoking. So no, do not.
The only thing I'm really thankful for is the fact that I'm sure that my carpal tunnel would be way worse if I had started playing earlier.
Amazing.
But, yeah,
I've played, I've lost a lot of League of Legends games, and I lose even more at Valorant if that's worth mentioning. But if someone wants to carry me, that I'm all game. Just let me know. As I mentioned, I think before, I do like League of Legends myself, but I tend to I don't know. I'm such a nerd. I need to be punished more. So I play Dota. So don't judge me. Don't judge. You're judging. That's a judgy laugh.
I'm not judging.
You're hurting my feelings.
I play Heroes of the Storm. We all have our burdens to bear.
Everyone's got their thing. All right. Next question from Veronica Plant. For people who want to get more involved in a community, animation or otherwise, do you have any advice for people who are more introverts slash shy, especially when it comes to leading things in a community and becoming more confident? Asking for my next door neighbor. Also, Lana, you're awesome.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I do have advice for people who are more introverts and shy. And one of them, I mean, that's sort of like the baseline level thing is like, there's no other way to sort of get over that introversion or that shyness without doing it. And you can do it in baby steps. When I started doing sort of presentations and even leading a group, leading tea time specifically, I was like, I would physically shake. I still get like the physical, my adrenaline pumps when I do public speaking and things. Really? Where I have to really do like a lot of breathing exercises before I go on stage or something, or I will be like, it's more excitement now, but I'll just vibrate. But it used to be just solid fear. And when I was in university and we'd be tea time animation, we had weekly club meetings that I would host, but I had a co-host. I had somebody who I knew that if I didn't have to talk to anybody else in the room, I could talk to that person all day about it. I do.
Yeah.
It's my buddy, Brandon Nason. And
quick shout out.
At the time, I would wait until he showed up. And then as soon as he showed up, I would practice introducing it. I mean, practice. I did it a lot, but it was something about it that made it so nervous. But that I think is a point that helps, is having a friend who, if you are in a community, ideally, it's not necessarily like a class format where you have to give presentations. It's moments where you can choose to take a bite of talking. If in an animation community, you can run the feedback session. You can, and all you really have to do is say, oh, who would like to put their work up next? And who has feedback for this person? What kind of feedback are you looking for? And it's like small points of engagement without necessarily needing to be the host of something and do a talk for an hour. And finding those moments where you can engage and choosing that. And then past that, for me, at least, there was no other way to get used to it other than just doing it. But I know that that's like impossible, but doing it about the things that you know that you're really passionate about, so that you'll just live in your own excitement for the thing that you are engaging with. And then also always realize that it's never dumb to ask a question. It's never dumb to make a mistake. Like living with those moments are the things that made me have a lot of anxiety about engaging, and sort of having that monologue that you can talk through yourself to remind you as often as you need to feel comfortable.
Right.
And be a part of a great community, because if you're a part of a community that you engage in and then they shoot you down, that'll just feel like shit. So Try not to do that.
Not really much point of being a part of a community like that. Now, is there?
Yes, exactly.
Find another community. I mean, that surprises me, to be honest with you. You seem so relaxed and so natural in front of the microphone and the camera that it's almost weird to think that you're all jitters before like a show. I guess that you've gotten better now, right? Now it's more excitement than it is nervousness, just because confidence is built up over the years, I guess, or...
Yeah, but I mean, there's still like weird nervousness. Like literally right before this, and I don't know if any of the rats are still around, we are like giving a presentation to each other, like a show and tell, like show and tell about literally anything in your life that you're excited about right now. And I was like in the process of making a loaf of sourdough bread right now, like many people got into in the pandemic. And I just tried to explain what I was doing, and I could feel like my chest tightening. And by the end of it, I was like, yeah, and this is a ball of dough. Who's next? And I had to like pass it off because I didn't like prepare. It's like a strange mental thing for me. I don't know.
Huh. And is it mean you just weren't mentally prepared, or you were like, you didn't like rehearse and you didn't really know what you wanted to say? Are you a prepared kind of person? Like when you go and do any kind of presentation, do you need to go through it a couple times first, or can you just wing it?
I can just wing it, but there's something about it that I would prefer it where when I look back, I'm like, what did I even say? I like to at least remember what I said. Yeah. Something about this gross dough ball. What a cool thing to share with people. I'm really self-critical, so it's hard for me to get past that.
Yeah, I wonder what it was, because there's an interesting study to be had there, I guess. Like why a conversation about bread, but you could go on and like talk about like a video game brand, like you've done it like all your life. It's so funny. Yeah. Interesting. I mean, people know me as a very talkative person. There's no surprise there. But you know, I got sent on a lot of press tours when I was at Ubisoft because of that, mostly because there's a lot of francophones at Ubisoft Montreal. Obviously, it's in Montreal, Canada, so it's there's going to be a lot. And so when they would do like American press events like E3 or something like that, they were really looking for gregarious Anglophones to go and do the talking, because they felt like that would, you know, be a little bit more, I don't know, like as if we were looking to I don't know what they were doing. They just figured that I might be better at than maybe a Francophone that was struggling with their English. So I went and I did these things, but I was like a bag of friggin' nerves. Like I don't know what it is. Like when you put a camera on me and I know that it's recording, and my brain and I'll never forget this one time. I was in Spain, and it was a really small, super like intimate, teeny weeny little like venue. And there was only a small number of press there. And I remember going to the bathroom, like, you know, I didn't have to go to the bathroom. I went in there just to sort of like freshen my face and like, just kind of, and my brain for some reason went blank. I couldn't remember any of my talking points. I couldn't remember literally anything. I was just a mess. I was broken. And I remember going out there, like going, holy shit, I don't know what I'm going to say. Because I literally I have like this amnesia right now. And then luckily I snapped out of it as soon as I walked back in that room. But I was freaking out. There's something that happens when there's cameras involved for me. I don't know why. I've gotten a lot better over the last couple of years just because of all the streaming I've been doing. Now it's just like, okay, whatever. There's a camera here. Good, great. You know, but man, oh man, I used to be a mess.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's something about like picturing that first, like whatever is the first thing I'm going to say.
Yeah.
And
you know, hyper-analyzing.
Like, what if I go to talk and I'm like, and nothing happens? Like there's so many weird and implausible nightmares scenarios that run through my mind. And then it's already started and now it's done.
And it just paralyzes you.
Yeah. Anyway, it's great though. You can do it. Sorry to
exactly. Don't let us scare you. Just even though I had like a nervous breakdown in a bathroom in Spain, has nothing to do at all with your future. You could totally beat this, and you're going to be great. You're going to do great, Veronica. Yeah. Don't worry about it.
I think just getting comfortable with the things you're excited about and letting yourself be excited about something.
Yeah.
That I think is what really broke it down for me, was me being like, we're all just here to talk about this thing that we all think is really dope, right? So I'm gonna geek out a little and maybe I'll mess up.
Totally. I think like you said, and you talked about, you mentioned the community too. Like you're not alone. You just happen to be someone who's taking a minute to share something, but like you're all together and you're all nerding out about the same thing. So there's like, what could really go wrong? Like no one cares if you trip over a word. Like they're just happy that you have something to share. So that's, you know, there's at least that. We got another question here. Where was it? Oh, really? thought there was another one. I missed it. I guess I might have to go into the library. Okay. Let's see. What do we got? Okay, this one's for David because he loves this question so much, and I just can't live with myself if I don't ask it. What are your thoughts on the metaverse?
Oh my
Lana
gosh.
Bachynski. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts on the metaverse. I do want to clarify that when you say the metaverse, and even have the fact that I'm clarifying this question is part of my absolute fundamental distaste. You mean like Facebook's new shtick, right? Facebook Corp, Meta, and the VR verse they're trying to create.
I understand your question. And I think that it's because they're kind of trying to jump on it and own the whatever that is, the VR world, I guess, the other side. Yeah, I get it. I don't think that's how I take it. I take the question as just in general, like what it like. But I mean, I think the way you reacted has already kind of given me your first thoughts on the metaverse. Is that you kind of wish that maybe Facebook wasn't the one trying to become the metaverse.
I think I don't want to be political, but like a company that is like statistically proven to be rather like centered around a lot of problems globally, I don't think is the company I want running my metaverse. But even so, I think I can't see it past like the corporate desire to how many people use the word metaverse about many different things. I feel like metaverse is like a word that is they're going to copyright it. And then anytime somebody references metaverse, they're going to be like, where's our money? That's our brand now. And like, I feel like that's all I see. The other thing I think about when I see it is like, I saw this tweet. I think maybe Adam Turnbull wrote it, but it was talking about their office VR thing. It shows all the people in the office and they're like, yeah, when you're colleagues are doing something cool, you can give them hearts or clap for them. And somebody was like, yes, throwing hearts and clapping for my colleagues in a meeting, like back in the office. This really rings true to my experience.
Yeah.
But it's like, it just seems right now misguided as to what people actually want from those experiences. I don't think I think, Google Meets or Zoom or whatever you use does a good enough job with the collaborative parts that they're trying to pitch at us in this virtual world. Like, I feel like they're solving the wrong problems with this overarching thing. I don't get it, but maybe I'm just old.
Well, I mean, I'm excited about lots of things about the potential of what it could be long term, but I have to admit that the whole Facebook monopolization of said metaverse does give me a creepy Black Mirror vibe, I have to say. I mean, it comes a little bit too hot off the heels of, a lot of speculation and a lot of what's the word when you what the hell the word that you say when you accusations. Jesus.
Yes.
Accusation. Yeah. That's the one. Yes. Accusations of, just really shady decisions that are going on over there and their lack of like kind of pure avoidance. And it's just, I don't know, the whole thing smells like, years ago during the tobacco boom and like, oh yeah, no, everything's fine. Everything's good. Meanwhile, they have like stacks of papers showing that like it's killing people. No. Don't worry about these.
Yeah.
It's fine. There's science. Who believes in science?
Skylar in the chat. It's what an alien thinks humans would want. That's exactly what it feels like.
Yeah. Well, his version, I agree with you. Like the Zuckerberg version of Metaverse is exact. Wait a minute. Are you suggesting that Mark Zuckerberg's an alien? Wait, what? Oh my God. It's possible. I'm not going to rule it out. I'm not ruling it out.
The thing about it, is like, do we really want to give the keys to the castle to the people who lock themselves out of their own building?
Why? What could possibly go wrong? I don't understand the problem.
No. But because you keep mentioning like there's things to be excited about by it, I think that the more remote future is the future that we're looking at. I think whether people like it or not, how COVID changed the world and things like VR technologies and different ways for people to gather. I actually haven't done that much research on Metaverse. All I've seen is like VR office rooms. And I'm like, who cares about that? But like the idea of trying to connect people and letting people live wherever the heck they want. Like a lot of those sort of higher level concepts to what this metaverse could be. I think that's exciting. I don't think it's happening now, and I don't think it's happening by Facebook.
Yeah, I agree. I wholeheartedly agree. I mean, maybe the optimist in me is overriding some of my skepticism. I know there's potential that's very interesting to explore. So for example, we had a person on our stream this week. It's a good friend of mine. His name's Jeff Malouin, and he runs a non-for-profit here in Montreal, and it's called Super Sublime. And basically, it is a group of people who work with VR and VR and 360 experiences. He goes to remote places on the planet. Right now, he focuses on Quebec, and Quebec has amazing vistas and beautiful areas. And he records this amazing, like 11K 360 footage using this gigantic 360 camera. And he gets this pile of footage, and then he creates these infinite loops out of it. And then he works with people in palliative care. And he brings them virtually to these places that they just can't possibly explore because they're bedridden, or they're they just can't. And I find that, to me, is obviously using those powers for good as opposed to evil. And I know that there's going to be some exciting things like that are going to happen in this world. So I'm kind of like, yes, I agree with the good is going to come Hiroshima and all the other bad things that come from science. So we'll see how that all plays out.
Picture that same experience, but when he's like bringing them the VR goggles, he puts it on their head and it says, log into your Facebook account.
Yeah,
and then he's like, oh, you don't have one?
True. That's so true. Sorry. We tried. Yeah. You're just this close, just one subscription away from having this dream. No Facebook account, no love.
Better luck next life.
Yeah, that's true. It's sad.
Yeah.
I don't know how they're going to get around. I guess they just log in on their own or something, because I don't expect people in their 80s to have Facebook accounts. Maybe some probably do, but I don't expect all of them. Okay, do I have another question? Come on, chat. You could do better than this. You have 2 questions so far for us. Like, come on.
Somebody asked
that'll work. Badgering chat always works. Was that?
Yeah. Somebody said, "Could I do the rest of the interview in the voice I just did?" I'd love to, but I don't. I truly don't know what I did.
It's a one-time only thing.
Yeah.
Adron. Sorry.
You witness it here first, and never.
That's it. That's good. Yeah, that's true. Breaks to you. I also don't expect 8-year-olds to use the metaverse. It's a very good point. Valid point. Although I do challenge you to go watch the video that we did this week. And there's this most adorable. I warn you though, it's going to make you cry because it's a very good video. This video of this man, this sweet, tender man who's unfortunately was diagnosed with cancer. He's living in palliative care. Jeff's team met with him and just spent some time with him, trying to get an idea as to like how they can maybe use some of their technology to like maybe check a couple those boxes, like some wish list items. And he always wanted to go to this one place, and so they sent the crew out there, captured that place in 360, built a VR experience out of it, and brought it back to his room and let him experience it. And watching this just adorable man looking around like he was like a 5-year-old discovering the world for the first time. I mean, if he can do it, other 80-year-olds will be jumping on board, I guarantee you. Oh, I got some questions rolling here. Badgering the chat does work. Who knew? That's interesting. Okay, you just taught me the wrong. That's not good. I'm going to always do it. Okay, when you interview for a game company but haven't played their games except for right before the interview, this sounds like it's a bit. This question is coming from experience. Do you usually admit that in the interview, or do you feel like that hurts your chances if you've just studied up on their games and haven't? Hold on, I have to turn it off for a second. I'll bring it back. And you haven't been a longtime fan.
I think
good question. Pork chop.
I think that depends. I think especially, I'm an animator. If I'm applying for somewhere and they think that my ability to play the game hinders my ability to animate the characters in their game, maybe I don't want to work there.
Ooh, shots fired.
But also, like, there's a lot of Are there games that are tangent to that game that you have experience with? Do you not play any games? Like, I could see a studio wanting you to be a fan of games. I think more and more studios are changing their opinion on the types of individual that they want, like the types of game experience in their individual candidates that they actually are requiring to apply, because you really narrow your pool if you only want people who think like your team already might.
Yeah.
I feel like what you're able to bring to a team, if you are not super immersed in their game already, or the types of games already, let me rephrase this. I think you have a unique perspective. I think if you are able to study up right beforehand and pinpoint things that you'd change and can be brave with the way that you would discuss it, and also studious in the way that you decided to play the game, and gain some understanding and show what you're willing to learn, that says more about who you will be when I'm working with you than, oh, you are summoner level 500,000. Great. Like, that actually means way less to me than all those other things, because those other things inform what a working relationship might be like with you, whereas the other one informs not much. And you can do both. I mean, I would expect that if you were preparing for an interview, no matter what, even if you have played a bajillion games of whatever the product is that you're looking to apply for, you would still come prepared in the same way. You would come prepared having specifically sat down and played it in a studious way, coming with feedback to give, opinions on the subject matter at hand. And as an interviewer, I personally like people who will think differently than me. I think that it only enriches my team. And so I don't want people who only are completely immersed in the ecosystem. I want someone who can be excited about what we're working on. And that doesn't mean that can often mean that it's new to you. And that's my thoughts.
I think those are pretty awesome thoughts. I would echo a lot of them. It's funny because I think that, you know, the video game industry, they're very insular, and they have been, and we talk a big game about trying to become more diverse and trying to get more people playing games and try to be a bit more accessible and more interesting. Well, a good first step is to not be so picky and so targeted with the type of people you bring in. Like, if you could bring people in that don't play your games typically, maybe that's an opportunity to have somebody on the team that knows how to build the game in a way that interests it for people like them as well. And therefore, obviously, immediately kind of gaining some accessibility points on the game. I mean, I get it. I think it's still, you need to filter out people that just aren't interested in the medium of games. I've interviewed people who just don't play games at all, and they want to get a game job, and I'm just sort of like, it'd be like, why would I, like, if you were trying to get a job in like at Pixar, and you never watched an animated feature film before, or even like just animated like short films like at a festival, it would be weird for me to think that you belong at a company that would be, you know, there's that, but specifically that type of game that company makes, I think is a little bit too much on the nose.
Yeah. And I think that if you are applying for Game Studio and they have a release game and you show up to the interview having not played that game, that hurts your chances.
Yeah.
Like,
That's
big time.
Totally, because that means you're not doing your homework, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
You don't need to be the super fan, but at least you were going in an interview prepared and prepared to like do a little bit of homework on the kind of stuff that they do at that company. Yeah, totally. I totally agree. Yeah, 100%. So be honest, but be prepared, basically.
Yeah. I mean, when I showed up to Riot, at that point, I'd played total in my life, I'll say 5 hours of League. That's not that much. I could have kicked it out in an evening. Like, but I had tangential experience. Of course, I worked on Here's the Storm, another MOBA. So I had like a lot of animation experience, but I also played the game. I knew skin lines that I really liked. I had specific animations that I had looked up so that I could talk about the things I liked about them. I had a lot of touch points to talk about, even though I don't know the deep strategy of League of Legends in particular.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it gave you an opportunity to have opinions, right? I think, this day and age, when I'm interviewing somebody, I don't want someone who's just going to come and who has a bunch of skill. I want to hire someone who has opinions, who has some ideas as to how to make it better, or how to, widen the audience, or have opinions, because opinions are important, especially for certain companies, at least. Maybe some people don't really like opinions, but I happen to be someone who does. So yeah, I think by fueling yourself with a bunch of pertinent information before the actual interview, you give yourself an opportunity to just naturally form opinions, even on the fly. Just because without it, you'll have no perspective on anything that might come up in the interview, maybe. Yeah. There's another one here. Thank you, pork chop. I think that's the way you say it. Or it's pork choop? You think it's pork choop?
Pork choop. Maybe there's two O's.
If only they had a microphone. We'll never know. Let's see here. We got another one we got Reach for the Skyler. I think I know this guy. I'm going to read it first. I'll bring it up so I don't have to put it up and take it down. A lot of animators like you have moved around to a few different jobs / studios / games over the years. How do you decide when it's time to move on to a new project or company or project? New project or company or project. Skyler, you're killing me, man. What gets you excited about a new project or team?
I think that is a really great question, Skyler. So for me, one of the things that, at least when I started out in the industry, I would see people, I feel like this definitely happens all the time for the newer folks in the industry. You sort of look, and there might be a couple people who you're like, you've been around 20 years, but you're not like, I feel like you're not working. I'm like, you should be so hungry. You're so lucky to be in this position. There's so few positions, and you want to always stay hungry. And so one of my biggest goals for myself is to always have something that I'm aspiring for, always have a goal, which coming from school was such a strange transition, because at least the whole time I was studying, the goal is get a job in the industry. That's it. That's the goal. And then after that point, starting at associate level, it's okay, I want to be mid. I don't want that associate anymore. I just want to be an animator. And then once you get animator, you're like, is my next goal just the next title? What are we doing here? There's a little crisis moment. But I think those kind of little crisis moments can help to figure out what you really want. Something that you can really easily lose sight of is what your own growth is and what your own desires are when you're sort of caught up in a studio environment, and when you're caught up in the needs of the project that you're working on. And so I think that at every sort of milestone, it's good to sort of take a little check and be like, where am I at now? Where is the project? Am I getting what I need from this? And if the answer is no, then there are some maybe difficult decisions you need to answer. And sometimes that decision at larger companies, there might be another project that you can go to. And maybe that's when you start having conversations. You can see if that's right for you and make a scoot over. But maybe the whole studio isn't really offering anything that you're looking for. And then time to start talking to other people. So for me, that was really palpable after working on at Blizzard for a certain amount of time on one project. It's wow, I've been really doing this for 5 years. I think I've gotten everything I can from this specific thing. And I know that I need to learn how to transition and work with a new team. That's a skill I'd love to really boot up, to see if I can get as cohesive and fluid with the team that I'm currently working with people I'd never talked to before. That's an interesting thing I'd like to try to do. And the only way I can do that is to leave. So I think having a really, having conversations with yourself a lot to know what you're looking for, and not just professional, oh, I'd like to be a senior animator, but personal, where do I want to live?
Yep.
There's only studios in certain locations, a lot more work from home opportunities coming up. There's a lot going on. A lot of questions that you need to answer for yourself, because you should always put yourself first, because your job, even if it's really, really cool, and even if you love it a lot, it's your job, and you should make sure that you have a little bit of emotional distance there. Anyway,
these are all good points. I think it's being self-aware enough, like you were mentioning, that you kind of know what you want to get out of the job high level. That's not just specifically like, oh, a paycheck. I think is super important because, you know, I always think that artists, especially if they're not learning and they're not growing on the job, they're going to start looking for something else. And some people, I've seen some animators start to become very dissatisfied, and they don't even realize they don't realize that the reason is because they've stopped learning, and they're in a rut, and they're just doing the same thing over and over again, and it's getting a little bit old. I don't think it shouldn't feel like, you shouldn't be embarrassed. It shouldn't feel awkward, that moment of like chasing after what you want creatively, because like Lana said, if the company's not able to give it to you, then go. Like, I mean, there's not gonna be any hard feelings. Some people feel really like, oh, but like, I don't want to burn the bridge by leaving. It's like, no, man, it doesn't work like that. I swear. It really does. If you leave on good terms, it's like, they're going to be fighting to get you back one day. If it was working out well, they're not going to be like, oh, but they left. So, you know, I'm enjoying the moments of kind of like grimace as you're like, maybe if I just aim the microphone away from the noise.
I don't know what that is. I'm so sorry. Long Beach. Okay, it's awesome. We're getting wild over here.
I like it.
Yeah.
So basically, move, like, don't, it shouldn't be a weird thing. It should be something that is natural. And sometimes it could just be a matter of talking to your supervisor. Maybe you don't have to leave. Maybe you really like it at the company, but you're depressed. Maybe just being like, look, I feel like I'm kind of getting a little stagnant, and I'd like to kind of grow. But spend some time thinking about what you'd like, what would interest you. Like, maybe just trying, maybe you've always been interested more about rigging, and you wanted to learn a little bit about rigging, you know, like maybe they can have you shadow one of the riggers and do a little bit of that, so you can learn a little bit while they're like, there's so many options for you. But like, you have to account, you know, like Lana said, all the peripheral things. Maybe it's time to move cities, even, you know, be closer to your family. Who knows?
Yeah. And it's even in like the context of like bringing it up to your managers and bringing it up to people, if you bring that information to the people that you work with and they treat you badly for it, then that's just another sign that that's probably not a good place to be. And that'll just make it easier for you to move on. That fear that people will be mad at you, like stopping and thinking logically. Would I be mad if somebody told me this information?
Yeah.
Probably not. And if you would, think about it.
Yeah, that's really funny. It's funny you say that, because it's like relationships, right? I feel like sometimes people are fearful of, like, you know, they asking their loved one a question because they're worried about what the answer might be. You know, it's like, or like, you could think of it as like a really good opportunity to find out something really important about that person you're spending a lot of time with, if it's that important to you. And like, because just pretending that that's not there isn't going to make it any better. That's just a ticking bomb. So it's the same thing for work. Like, if you think they're going to act poorly when you ask the question, because I mean, it's a healthy thing to be like, look, I need to be challenged. Is there anything we can do about maybe mixing it up for me? Because I'm being honest with you, I'm a little bit stagnant right now. Any good employer, any good supervisor is going to be like, oh man, thanks for telling me. Like, I had no idea. Like, what are you interested in? What can we do? Let's think outside the box. That's the way it's supposed to go. But if it doesn't, then yeah, okay, exactly. You just made the decision just was really easily made for you, because you've got evidence as to why maybe it's not a great place to be, possibly. Yeah. Silver lining kind of girl, are you? Sort of like, just poke the bear and you know, see what happens.
Got to make the best out of whatever's going on.
Totally. Oh, here's Scott. He's joining the party here. We got a question from Scott. I've asked to jump in on dailies to learn more about project management, but it was quiet in the studio. How could you manage that when a project is running, especially if you're a contractor and when the project finishes, you may get let go? Scott, I don't know if I fully understand. You were, but it was quiet in the studio, meaning they didn't answer you on the question?
Or like you were in a room full of people. Oh, I see. There wasn't much.
Oh,
so you asked to jump in on dailies. Sorry, like animation dailies?
Yeah, I think he's talking about animation dailies. There was space to learn.
It's hard for me to picture. So were you coming? So I need a little bit more context here. So you were asked to jump in on dailies. Dailies for a different department, or dailies, animation dailies? Are you an animator asking to go to animation dailies, but you're a contractor, so they said no?
Or, you know, he's an animator. Yeah, he's an animator, but he wants to learn more about project management, it looks like.
Oh, and so you mean like their daily stand-up, I assume, is what dailies is? Or do they
I
have
think so,
they're
yeah.
like they're like critiquing each other's spreadsheets?
Or it could be dailies, because dailies in film is like something they do is like a review.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm wondering.
Oh, okay.
If like what dailies is in this context. I was animating.
Okay, I was animating, no project. I wanted to learn project management, so got asked to shadow in dailies, looking at shots and taking notes. But it was quiet, meaning there wasn't a lot of notes to look at. Is that the problem? So how could you manage that when a project is running, especially if you're a contractor?
No, I want. So
no, Scott,
no,
we're on a mission now. We're going to answer this freaking question, Scott.
So how could you manage that when a project is running? So if you want to learn more information about other departments, I do think that there is an opportunity to do that at almost any time. If a project is running, there will be some additional effort on you, right? So like the people you're shadowing, that's like maybe a little bit of burden if you have like a whole bunch of questions for them. But like building a mentorship and starting small with being like, hey, quick question for you. Just wondering about this. Interesting. And like sort of getting a piece of that little mentorship pie every once in a while. And then building it up over time. If you say, I'd really like to learn more, I want to take on these dailies. As long as you're still getting whatever you're doing done, I feel like if that studio is going to like, why would they not be like, sure. But I don't have insight into why. Like if you're a contractor, I know there's like a lot of rules about sometimes contractors are specifically legally not allowed to do X, Y, Z with the team because of how contractors are set up. So I can't speak like legally to how that works, but I feel like if I was at a studio and somebody wanted to learn more, and that means they could potentially do more for the project down the line, or if they're contracting and like want to just give them the tools to succeed, says maybe we hire them full time, like whatever, I would be all about it as long as they were continuing to do the work that they were planning on doing.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think that we'll never know. I think he stormed off. Forget it. I just have this picture of him doing this Aussie storm off. He's out there now doing a walkabout or something, right, Scott? No. Okay, so I don't know. I just think that it makes sense for any studio to encourage people going like, hey, I want to learn a little bit more about these other departments. Like, I mean, maybe I know you didn't storm off because you're typing. You'd be like, maybe you're storming and typing at the same time. We don't know. Maybe you're really good at doing that. I'm not. I think that, I think that should happen a lot more, to be honest. I think one thing that can really increase the level of empathy and the level of cooperation that happens on a team is when we all understand a little bit more about the other departments around us. Having no understanding or no sympathy or no sensitivity at all for the kind of crap that these other departments are dealing with on a regular is a good recipe for apathy and like totally misunderstanding. And like that's why I always tell animators to spend some time with the lighting department and the rigging department if you're on a film, and video games, obviously it would be like designers and programmers probably, and making sure that you kind of get a better picture of what their world is like, because it might help you just make the whole process a little smoother, maybe by knowing what the people who take your work and do something with it, knowing what their pet peeves are and the kind of stuff that you're doing unknowingly to drive them crazy that they always have to fix, but they never bother to tell you. It'd be nice maybe to know that. And then you could start making their lives a little easier. And like suddenly everyone's, happier, generally speaking. Yeah. I just think it's great to spend some time learning these other things.
And especially like looking at that last sentence of your initial question, especially if you're a contractor, when the project finishes, you may get let go. I feel like that's the time where you're in a position to say, I might get let go. I have a lot I want to get from this experience, and like trying to maximize that as best as you can is only good. So especially if you're a contractor, that's when I would push a little harder. It's like, I'm only here for a little bit of time. Like, give me a little bit more from this experience if you are legally able, I think.
Yeah. Totally. I totally agree. Because it's bad, especially if you're being let go, because I mean, all you're doing is beefing up your other skill set. So the next job, you could be like, well, I shadowed a production manager. I'm actually interested in that job. I feel like I know animation and I'm interested enough. I got a good enough look at that job to know that I wouldn't mind giving it a shot. That could be enough to give you the in just because you're showing an initiative, which is kind of more than a lot of other people are doing.
Yeah.
Interesting.
True.
I'm going to pull, we're almost done. We got 4 minutes left. It goes fast. Hopefully,
oh my
at
gosh.
least, or maybe it went really slow for you. You might have been like, oh my God, get me out of here. It's possible. Let me see here. I got a bunch of questions. I just want to make sure that I could pick a really good one for our last one. Questions from the spreadsheet that weren't David. Yeah, okay. I see it, Scott.
I can quickly.
Well, that's a good. This one's specifically for you. Sorry?
Oh, go ahead. Oh, I was just gonna say, if you're reading, I was just gonna say I love donuts.
Yeah, you. So what kind of donuts though?
Just a chocolate.
I mean, you can't just say donuts.
Oh, I will eat if there's chocolate. A donut. Was it like 2 weeks old? I'll eat it. What kind is it? I don't care. It's a donut.
But what would be your preference though? If you could eat a donut, if I could give you a donut, any kind of donut right now, what would it be?
It would be a chocolate dip.
Like chocolate dip, really?
Just give me that basic ass donut.
Man, that's all you got. That's like you're just easy to please with donuts. That's fun. I think mine's apple fritter. An apple fritter for me. Apple fritters are so good. I don't know if everyone knows what an apple fritter is. It's a very Tim Hortons word.
I feel like that's a Canadian.
Yeah, I think it's like
choice.
Yeah, it's like calling a tissue a Kleenex, right? It's like So yeah, apple fritters are like kind of like hard to describe. They have chunks of apple in them. There's cinnamon kind of a little bit, and there's like it's got a kind of a honey kind of sugar glaze on it. It looks all crumpled, like a crumpled up piece of paper. It's so good.
Looks like you took a donut and smashed it up and then put it.
It kind of does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, anyway, you had a question.
Yeah. Question. This one's for you. Very specific one here. The Orphea movements in your reel are so perfect. Do you practice the moves yourself before creating them digitally? That's the question.
Oh my gosh. Who asked that? So Orphea.
Hexer Voodoo is their handle.
I recognize that name.
Oh, you do?
So do I practice the moves myself before I creating them digitally? She was very hard to animate or practice the moves myself because she floats. So I couldn't really, but I did like.
Not trying hard enough, obviously.
I know, my bad. I haven't learned levitation yet. That's the principal level skill. And I did like upper half of my body. I have like a lot of reference. Kikiri in chat is saying, I love the videos of you practicing your animations. I have a bunch of them. At one point, I kept saying I was going to release a reel of just my reference footage, just to thoroughly embarrass myself publicly. But I take reference a lot of times for like little motions and things. So there is like something to one of her ready ups where I just don't know how I want to move my arms. So I'll literally like stand there almost totally still, but be like, her arms will kind of be like this. And so I'll just take reference of just what my arms are doing. And then I'll have the body do whatever else, but I'll at least know which way I want to move my hands or something. And then for Orphea, one of the most difficult things I had to figure out, I'm sure that you were talking specifically about her character, but her monster, I had like a weirdly difficult time with the timing of it. And something else I do a lot is I take reference, just timing reference using my hand like a puppet. So for her monster, I specifically was like, it appears and then it roars really quickly and then it dives. And something about being able to figure out with my hand exactly the timing I wanted to get and where the shakes, where the tension is. I could like feel it. And something about like the memory of how my different muscles flexed helped me to figure out the timing I wanted for the animation. So long story short, yes, I do practice the moves digitally.
I'm still stuck on the fact that you can't levitate. I'm a little bit disappointed, but I know. I'm trying to get over it. Yeah, it's funny. I feel like I find that, using video reference is much less common in video game production. But I mean, I think a lot of it has to do with like the moves that we're asked to do are probably next to impossible to get good reference for. Yeah, that's it. So it's like, I get it. I can see why that's just, people are like, why bother? Like I'll spend just as much time looking for good reference because it's so specific and it's, it's also not probably possible for a person to do. So, it's,
I have a little side-by-side one that I think is one of my favorite ones I've had. Kikiri mentioned it, my URL one. She had a move that's called the bubble hearth where she becomes invulnerable. And the idea behind it was that she was like, you'd probably like slam it when you were just about to die. And then it makes you literally invulnerable. So she has this moment of like panic, and then being like, what? Oh, right. Peace out. And it's like this little sassy wave as a part of it.
Amazing.
And like when I put the two side by side, I'm just like, oh, what a fun little thing that is like, I feel like doing reference for it for some reason makes me so much more attached to what I'm doing. And I'm like, that really is like me in whatever it is. I am this gross monster guy. I am this beautiful little dryad girl. I am these characters, and it's a method animation.
No, it makes sense. It's because it's like it becomes, rather than it just being an idea in your head, it's something you actually physically kind of did, and so it's like it feels more like you're kind of putting a real piece of you into the character. It makes a lot of sense. Never thought of it like that. Yeah. So it is 2 minutes after 10. Do you want to do one more last question?
I'll take one more. I'll do one more.
I think we're gonna do another one to David, just because this one is actually it's kind of a big question to drop at the end, but whatever, we'll figure it out. So, what are your thoughts on all the negative press that some major game developers have had in the past few years regarding a toxic work environment? It's a light topic. It's a super quick one. Should be super light and easy, and then we'll be able to go on our way.
Can I see that? Can you pop it up so I can read that?
I'm doing it right now. I do. I know it's a lot to unpack. Hold on. Here we go.
What are your thoughts on the negative press some major game developers got in the past few years regarding a toxic work environment? So my thoughts are a few levels deep. Being more general, as this is written, more general, is that diversity only makes everybody stronger. Whatever that diversity may be, diversity of thoughts and opinions, of histories, of lives lived that can add to whatever you're making to make it something really unique, just as people are, is only great. And so it is unfortunate, deeply unfortunate about the toxic work environments as they have been. But the thing that sort of sticks to me is the fact that, like, as far as I'm aware, like, at least my personal experiences, it's like, it's that toxic sort of everywhere in my life as a woman. I've always had toxicity in some ways, whether that be when I'm gaming online or whether that be when I go to a bar with my friends. Like, no matter what that is, there's some level of weird toxicity that follows people around. For a variety of reasons. Mine is because I'm a woman. This reporting, it's awful to read about the things that get surfaced. But like for me, I'm also like so fearful that news scares people away.
Yeah, totally. And which it sadly kind of works to make it worse in a way, right?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I totally feel that. It sucks.
And so my main thought is, like, hopefully by seeing it, we're encouraging the beautiful part. I think that being able to have awareness of that only means that we can heal it, rather than like a quiet sickness that is throughout the body of the industry that you know about. It's just sort of like this sleeper evil thing or whatever that's happening. Knowing about it means that we can fight against it, but it does take strength, and it does people willing to call it out when they see it. And so I'm being, I guess, I don't think I'm being super vague, but
no, I think you're doing great. It's a tough question. It's for sure. It's put you on the spot.
Yeah.
And
I just hope people aren't afraid, because it is like that all over the world. And that's like a bad take of being like, well, life is bad. The games industry is fine. But I feel like if you've been able, it only gets worse when people don't bolster it. So seeing it now, that just means we need more people to come in.
I totally, it's these kind of weird topics for me to chime in on, because I represent the majority of like what you usually see in game devs. A bunch of white dudes basically is what it is mostly. It's not entirely. So it's, I recognize my privilege in this particular sort of situation, but I can tell you this. That people that are of a minority demographic that are interested in game development, I can promise you there are studios that are absolutely chomping at the bit to have you. They do exist. They 100% exist. And I think, as Lana kind of indicated, the difference between before, because I mean, a lot of people would like to suggest that it's not necessarily getting better. That they don't feel like there's enough progress. And I can't speak to that, because having not been the target of a lot of that sort of, intolerance, I can't, it's not like I'm not in a place to measure it. But what I can tell you is I've noticed a lot more talking about it. I hear a lot more conversations about it. What used to be the sort of the silent sort of killer of like people just trying to survive it and nobody talks about it, and the sort of gaslighting that people must have tried to survive after years and years of being treated like this. At least now it's a dialogue, and people are being brought into that. And like you said, solutions can start to be made, because nothing gets fixed if no one talks about it. That's for sure.
Yeah.
No way.
And even spaces where, say, I feel like there's the fear of like, oh, well, now I'm going to be brought in places as a token. I'm only going to be brought in places because people don't really want my opinion. If you feel like you're in that position and you are invited to get a job and they're just trying to use you as a face and then not actually take your opinions, that's when you use one of those moments and you say, you know what? Bye.
Yeah.
And if like they try to keep you at that studio, you can make some pretty hardy demands. And if you don't see change again, leave. And now you have that experience on your resume, and you can go and eventually find a place that really will value you for what you offer. I feel very fortunate that in my time in the industry, the places that I've worked, I have never felt unvalued for who I am and the thoughts I bring. I have never felt personally brought down by who I am as a woman, or because I'm a woman. I have not personally felt that in the workplace.
Yeah.
And I love games and I want more people to enjoy them. Making video games is awesome. Making animation is so sick. And there are places that will value you for the perspective you bring.
Absolutely. I'm not, there's definitely some bad eggs out there. And some of that comes from a legacy of just like it's a complicated problem to just fix overnight, right? And I think that, like I said, like if I can represent anything, I'd like to think that I can represent tonight the will and the very, very, very serious desire, and like you said earlier in this in the chat tonight, you were saying how diversity. Actually, I think you started this particular line of questioning with this. This diversity is a very, very important thing, and it is valued in the right places, in the right kind of context, and so there's a hunger for it, and the only way to fix it is to actually talk about it and fix it. And but the catch-22 that I'm always scared about is, like you said, is that sometimes by talking about it, then it's sort of advertising the fact that it's not so healthy in some places, turning away all these people that might have been able to help be a part of the change. You know what I mean? It's just it's such a delicate, and so sadly here we are. We're here hoping that the people that are often victimized in these kinds of sort of situations, we're hoping they're the ones that are going to be strong enough to suck it up and and just jump into the fire. It's such a mess, and it makes my brain hurt just thinking about it. Oh
yeah, it comes from folks being brave enough to jump into the fire, but also from leadership folks stop valuing toxic individuals, or stop maintaining the status quo for toxic individuals based upon the perceived value that they have for your team. Just because somebody did a bunch of unbelievable work technically on your project, if they are a toxic person, it is your duty to get rid of them.
Totally.
Because somebody else, you don't know, it's implying that the value isn't elsewhere. Especially I hear a lot of arguments like, well, if I am waiting for diverse candidates to apply, doesn't that mean I might miss the best people? And it's like, would you think the best people are only white dudes? Like, what are you trying to say? Don't you think by not encouraging diverse people to apply, you might be missing the best people? How about that?
Anyway, yeah, that's it.
Totally.
I know.
With all this in mind, Riot's hiring.
Yeah.
We are. And if you want to ask me questions, like personally, I have my DMs on Twitter open. I am at Latiani on Twitter. That's a weird garbage word, but you can also just Google my name and you can find it. If you have questions about this kind of stuff, I'm happy to answer. I'm happy to talk to you. And if you are looking for a job, hit me up for real.
She was so excited you started to stutter.
Yeah, I lost it. Just brain shut out. Please, we're hiring. Please.
I mean, that's a pretty heavy topic to end with. I just wanted to make sure, because you're the perfect person to ask. I don't know why. I knew that you would have some amazing, wise things to say about it. So I wanted to sort of leverage the opportunity to squeeze some of that wisdom out of this conversation. So thank you, Lana, for being here again.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. So fun.
For hanging out, just talking about animation, talking about really light subjects like diversity and in the workplace. And hopefully
fritters.
We talked about apple fritters too. You are correct. We did. That's important. It's good. We checked that one off the list. It was on my to-do list today to talk about apple fritters. So hopefully we haven't scared you away. We'll try to drag you back in at some point. I think there is plans to bring you back in. I'm not going to I don't want to steal the thunder, but we're planning something fun. Yeah. So it'll be good.
Looking forward to it.
So thank you, chat. Thanks, you. Chat. As always, Lana, and we'll catch you on the next one. Cheers.
Sounds great. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
So there, I stole it for another 13 minutes. Now you have to pay me off. I know you guys are hungry for the Lana. It's funny because Lana, it's weird. Like just so many other guests that we have on the show. It's like we haven't met some of these people, and next we're talking to them because it'd be cool to have them on the show. And now it's like some of these people. It feels like I know them. I don't know. Atlanta's got one of those personalities though that just feels very warm and very inviting. So I would totally hit her up on that offer if you got questions about the industry that you think that she's in a unique position to possibly answer, which I'm sure she is, and for a variety of reasons, her experience. Her skill level, as well as the fact that she's a female developer who's thriving in the industry, which is, I think, a very important indication that it can work. It's not completely broken. It is broken in some places, and some places are struggling, but there is a will. There's a will, and I think that that will is due to people like Lana willing to let that love drive her and understand that the world's not perfect, and hopefully working for people that are trying to value people for the right reasons. Hopefully those planets can align for people and magical things can happen. So, as always, thank you so much for the chat and for the conversation chat. It's nice to have you in here asking the questions. And without you, I wouldn't be thinking about apple fritters right now, because we wouldn't have had the show, and then it would have given a reason for Lana to say randomly donuts. I'm a little disappointed in her choice, although it's probably a wise decision because there's always chocolate dip. There's always, there's you go to a donut shop, who's not going to have a chocolate dip? So the chances of her being disappointed when she goes to a donut shop are pretty low. Where mine, unless I'm at a Tim Hortons, I might be crap out of luck. That's enough about donuts. I'll see everybody on the next stream, and stay animated. Take care. Bye.